Um, Hi guys, my name is Won Kim. I'm CEO and founder of BUIDL, as well as the Chief Science Officer of Aergo Foundation. I'm here to talk about what enterprise means in blockchain world and why it is important. And I'm going to use examples that we learned from running a blockchain startup, BUIDL, and our new hybrid blockchain platform, Aergo. Yep. So why enterprise? So there are a lot of applications on blockchain, and many with a lot of hype as well. But the common conception at the moment is that the era of hype is already over. There has been a lot of promises and implementations of blockchain applications that promised a lot of things, but a lot of them were under-delivered as well. But things were very different on the enterprise side, where there has been a lot of actual deployments out there serving actual business problems, connecting blockchain to existing IT infrastructure, and also enterprises, the businesses that are servicing actual users are the ones with the most money as well, and they're high standard when it comes to adopting software as well. So by interacting those enterprise customers, we learned a lot of things while supplying blockchain technology. And I think it really has a lot of implications in shaping the future of the technology as well. So a lot of blockchain has been focusing on so-called a public blockchain area, or you could call it pure as well, symbolized by existing blockchain implementations like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And while they innovated their initial shape of their decentralization protocol with their censorship resistance network and a innovative governance model, enterprise blockchain posed novel challenges as well. While the central idea still focuses on the distributed ledger technology, there's a lot more focus on administration as well as the so-called quality of service. While hackers and experienced developers are happy to turn their time learning new technology, experiment with the difficult tools and languages in a pure blockchain area, enterprise developers are very different. They need to save time and money and come up with a working solution in a realistic frame of time, which means that the pure blockchain implementations and enterprise blockchain implementations work under very different assumptions. That means that we need to come up with new standards that can actually enable applications in such restraining situation. So BUIDL has been very successful in that regard for the last 4 years. We have had more than 21 paying customers with dozens of actual deployments where we are servicing more than 9 million users. And a lot of our experience that I'm going to share in this session stems from those customers. So there are actual deployment scenarios that we witnessed with the private blockchain implementation called CoinStack that we've been supplying to customers for the last few years, stems in a very wide area of applications that spans from identity management to electronic voting to IoT and document storage. And that kind of deployment enabled us to come up with new tools and architecture to solve challenges and problems that no one witnessed before we worked with their enterprises. For example, with their identity management based on blockchain, things get a bit weird when you're trying to incorporate it with their existing systems. For example, a lot of businesses around the world are dependent on technology called Active Directory provided by Microsoft. And there isn't exactly a book on integrating Active Directory with their distributed ledger or blockchain technology. So we had to come up with their novel architectures like smart oracles and a transaction-based identity management to solve some of the problems. And it really means that they're working in the enterprise environment. It's not as easy as what you would do in a public setting where their focus is more on the proof of concept and seeing if they can do cool stuff. Also, file system management has been a very interesting application on enterprise blockchain as well. While projects like IPFS has been very successful in their public blockchain setting, private blockchain and their enterprise settings require different solutions to face the challenges as well, where there needs to be specific guidelines and adherence to rules such as GDPR to solve their privacy and performance problems as well. And we interacted with a lot of banks to test our idea of a blockchain-based settlement and clearing as well. And in the course of action, we were able to actually witness the upper bound of their current blockchain implementation and how many transactions per second that they can actually achieve with existing technology. So to summarize a bit, we are able to witness a very diverse application in enterprise blockchain setting. And it would be surprising to people who has never dealt with a blockchain application in enterprise setting. It's no less diverse than what you would expect in a public blockchain world as well. And because a lot of these applications are providing service to actual live users, they have to provide even higher standard of performance and quality of service as well. So my conclusion is that enterprise blockchain is real, and a lot of businesses are interested and captivated by a lot of qualities that blockchain can provide. And I think it's evident by a lot of existing corporations trying to penetrate this market as well. For example, for a few days ago, Amazon just announced to roll out their own blockchain implementation as well after a long period of pondering whether it's a hype or not. And IBM is still strong in this area as well. And in Korea, Bloco is actually capturing a significant market share by actually working with the actual customers. So I talked about enterprise blockchain. And while enterprise blockchain is very interesting in purely technical perspective because it illustrates a lot of possibilities and ways to solve problems in IT infrastructure, in business-wise, it's not the most attractive application of blockchain. Not because it is not interesting or easy, but because most of those enterprise blockchain applications deal with solving existing problems. For example, I mentioned that the blockchain can be integrated with Active Directory to provide a blockchain-based identity management. But in a way, it is an effort to replace an existing system to save cost. But saving cost is only attractive as the money it can actually bring to their adopters. But a lot of businesses are actually interested in creating new businesses, new business models, and new applications on top of blockchain. And that's why we need to talk about hybrid blockchain, which is supposed to bring both the goods and strengths from the public and the private blockchain world. For example, there's a lot of interest in tokenized economy in Korea and outside Korea as well. A lot of regional governments are trying to create their own currencies. Some of them are based on blockchain, and some of them are more centralized. But in any case, the attractiveness of creating and coming up with a new currency system appears a lot to businesses and governments alike. And this is something that is very difficult to be solved using private blockchain technology only. So using public blockchain technology, the businesses and governments can easily create new business values by creating new tokens on top of blockchain technology and utilize the tools that are available, like smart contract and digitalized assets. So to summarize a bit, the private blockchain world focuses on so-called IT transformation, and which would actually usually result in saving cost. And hybrid and public blockchain focuses on building new business models, which is intended to bring in new revenue to the users. So we believe the hybrid is future in blockchain world, and that means that we need to take the lessons learned from both public and enterprise blockchain world as well. In short, we're talking about a new breed of blockchain that can provide the scalability and the productivity that is required for the average developers, as well as ways to take full control and limit the governance of the blockchain. And that resulted in our new project called Aergo, where we combined a lot of existing technology that we developed while supplying a private blockchain implementation to existing customers, and combining some of the top-notch architectures and algorithms that we can find in public blockchain implementation as well. So for example, advanced programming network, which is meant to save time when you're creating a new blockchain, and hybrid architecture, where you can roll out your blockchain infrastructure not only in your own data centers, but in our public world. And our concepts such as serverless computing and open source-based innovation are our core components and core values that we bring in with the Aergo project. So Aergo composes of three components. One is the platform, where we provide a framework for creating the apps and services, and a main network, which is the main fabric, where the new blocks and transactions are transmitted and recorded. And on Aergo Hub, which is a socialized marketplace and a computing platform that leverages on the concept of serverless and utility computing. So rather than talking about how great things can be, I'm going to illustrate some of the more specific examples that can be more interesting to developers. Because in heart, we believe that the developers are the main audience of this innovation, and they're truly the target that we need to focus on to make this blockchain-based innovation mainstream as well. For example, creating a so-called D-app on existing blockchain technology has been usually very time-consuming and cumbersome. In many ways, reflecting one of the early days of the, reminding early days of a web development, where you would be actually using inadequate tools like C++ to come up with their web page. And In order to solve the problem, we came up with a working development stack where programming and testing and deploying different the apps are all integrated into a pipeline of a development framework. For example, with our package management software ship, users are able to download required components and dependencies easily, and they can use Athena, which is part of our development stack, to actually manage their version control seamlessly with their blockchain DApp development. And when they are done testing, they can actually roll out their DApps onto Aergo Hub to service actual end users. Yep. Yeah, I'm going to skip a few pages that might not be so interesting to non-developers. Yeah, and a lot of focus has been put on under productivity in Aergo. And because a lot of our developers come from database background, we recognize their importance and impact that a good data layer has on your productivity. For example, creating a working application using relational database like MySQL is 100 times easier than doing it on a more simplistic key-value database. That's why we came up with a optimized relational database that is specifically built to service the needs of a blockchain implementation called Lit3 to be integrated on top of the existing key-value database that is what is usually served in most of blockchain implementations out there. And creating a smart contract using the Aergo smart contract language is so much easier than what you'd expect interacting with your key-value database. Of course, it assumes that you know SQL, but the truth is that it is something that is taught at schools these days, and we intend to capture a good chunk of developers with a native support for SQL in our smart contract. And in order to advance performance and productivity, we are coming up with a ASCR is our own language implementation to deepen the integration between SQL and smart contract language as well. It'll be, it's actually further down in our roadmap. It's intended to boost the performance by directly integrating B3 and other data layer implementations with the smart contract language. So what would it mean to DApp developers, be it businesses or individual developers or someone at our hackathon? Because we are providing an integrated development framework, we can actually make their experience as seamless and wholesome as possible. Because we are providing Aergo Hub, which is a computing marketplace that you can actually test and deploy your apps, and it all integrates transparently with our development framework. You can actually use the tools to create new apps in a matter of time. And because everything is symbolized and abstracted away, we provide a strong support for integration with different blockchain implementations as well. For example, while Aergo can serve as the main network and our core backend to connect different implementations, it provides the ability to connect different implementations such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and in mostly enterprise settings, projects like Fabric to integrate it into your DApps. And from business perspective, the strong integration capability can provide a further support for creating new class of assets as well. For example, traditionally, a digitized asset of blockchain has been limited to a specific deployment. For example, you wouldn't expect to trade Bitcoin on Ethereum network, but because we are providing an implementation of newer standards like Plasma and a Merkle tree implementation, you'd be able to create hybridized assets that spans different blockchain implementations. I'm going to skip some technical bits. Yep. And in terms of Aergo's perspective, it means that your DApp would be present on not a single deployment of blockchain, but could actually span from different side chains, the main network, and even different blockchain implementation like Ethereum as well, which would actually boost your scalability as well as allows you to access different functionalities offered by a specific layer of blockchain as well. So this is an illustration of our Aergo scan pre-testnet that is actually publicly available at the moment. Even at the early stage of development, we are able to achieve more than 10,000 transactions per second. That includes not just asset transfers, but more complicated transactions, such as that includes SQL statements as well. And we are already on GitHub, and Aergo is actually one of the most active blockchain projects in Korea at the moment. And I mentioned that Blockco has been very successful with enterprise clients for the last few years, and our intention to actually bring a lot of those existing clients to the more recent and a more innovative version of Aergo as well by providing a 100% backward compatibility in terms of collaborative interface and SDK as well. And as you can see, those are some very interesting businesses and financial institutes. So we are still working on our technology, and we are planning to launch our test network within Q4 this year. So we only have about 1 month left, but we are working hard to meet their promises. And during Q1 next year, we'll see the launch of the main network. So I'm going to use the remaining time to answer some of the questions, if you have.
질문 있으신가요? Any questions? Okay. 네. 있나요? 네, 감사합니다. 감사합니다. 박수 부탁드립니다.